And welcome to The Corner. I'm the Frosted Glass, and I'm joined by my fellow Alabaster Savages, Jack Gunsky.
You ever hear a song for the first time ever and then it gets stuck in your head for several days?
Yes,
How's
but the solution to that is you listen to "Shut Up Your Face" by Joe Dolce.
Moonshock?
Just for Prospero. Take these broken wings.
You're getting for the audience at home. You're getting context that we were discussing before the show and should make zero sense to you.
Terry Diamantis.
Hey, everyone.
And our special guest this week, Prospero.
I should have had a headache.
So, Prospero, what's the matter, you?
It's only gonna get better.
I actually used to have a "What's the Matter You" sweatshirt. Nobody gets that anymore.
Well, no, it's because Terry is talking about a song from Australia and Prospero is talking about a reference from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I was referring to "Shut Up Your Face" by Joe Dolce, but I did get the Rocky and Bullwinkle reference.
What's the matter, you? Hey, what are you gonna say?
What's the matter, you? Hey, got no respect.
And speaking of things that we were talking about before we went live, remember, Prospero, that thing that you said to me? Remember
Just
that?
get on with it already.
Get on with it.
Well, she was telling me that it's time to ungender periods.
Oh,
Excuse me?
Breaks between sentences.
And oh my god.
A case for including all people in menstrual health.
No.
No.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
sweet mother of Jesus. You know, we all knew this was going to happen because people were, oh, you can't separate boys and girls. And they're like, no, boys and girls is referring, or men and women is referring to sex. We're talking about gender. Gender is different than sex. No, it's not. It's the same thing. You only invented it so that you could erase sex. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to erase that distinction, the biological distinction that is very much inherent in all people.
I have a question though. If menstruation is referred to as your period, why isn't menopause called full stop?
Nothing. I got nothing.
You can't tell him to go to the corner because he's already there.
I'm sorry, boys, but if you're peeing out of your dick, there's something the matter. If you're bleeding out of your dick, there's something the matter. It's just not. No. This is like chest feeding. Go away.
Go watch the South Park episode where Stan has to find out this very same information as to why his period was not arriving.
Yeah. My period is going swimmingly.
It's funny. Jack was bitching about gender. Gender. I used to hear the term gender associated with language. It was gendered language. And so you had masculine and feminine nouns. So it was a language construct, or neuter in the case of German. And those were the genders of language. Gender was introduced a lot. It was introduced before SJWs came along as a term for sexual expression. But now it's shuffle the card, pull a word, make it mean something different. And this notion of regardless, and I understand that it can be very triggering to people's dysphoria to discuss fundamental biological sex, but anyone who is trans, who is acting as if some kind of magic wand can be waved and remove what the story their DNA tells, is sorely mistaken, and they're doomed to a great deal of unhappiness. It doesn't have to be shoved in people's faces all the time, but periods are unique to the human creature that has a uterus.
And please don't
Which
shove
could
them
be a
in our
man or a
faces.
woman.
There are plenty of women who do not have periods.
Yeah,
Biological women.
they've had full stop.
They've had full stop. They've had a hysterectomy. They have dysmenorrhea. There are all kinds of things. They could be distinctly underweight. Anorexics will frequently stop having their period. The body's basically signaling that there is something dramatically wrong. In other words, for God's sake, we can't let you become pregnant because it will kill you. That kind of thing.
Hmm.
But it is making everyone cater to a very statistically small minority. You don't have to shit on. You don't have to shit on people to also call out this ridiculousness.
Yes,
But
you
if you
do.
want to upset them, say it's statistically insignificant, because that's a lot harsher than statistically low.
Mhm.
In their interpretation, you just sort of diminished trans people, even though you diminished the rate of its occurrence, not the people itself. They won't care.
Even though they belong to other statistically insignificant, there are other statistically insignificant groups. If you look globally, 98% of the world is cis het.
The problem is that it's not just the people who are in the statistical minority. What they're doing is they're using the statistical minority to introduce these concepts to the majority, and basically just they are using people with legitimate conditions in order to shoehorn their bizarre ideals onto people who just want to look cool.
Yeah, it's getting tough to tell the difference between borderline personality disorder and genuine dysphoria.
Yeah, and it's really
that's not going to help people with dysphoria one little bit.
It's really unfortunate because it means that society is no longer going to look into helping people who do have legitimate issues that require help. That because they're going to be viewed as it's okay, just accept it. Well, I'm sorry, but
he pointed out something where in their bid to virtue signal, they actually did a lot of harm to trans people because they said it should no longer be classified as a mental illness. And then she pointed out that, well, if you do that, insurance doesn't have to cover it. So now trans people have to pay all their medical expenses out of pocket because, hey, they're not sick anymore.
Exactly.
That is a cruelty beyond expression. It really is. It is clearly like any other dysmorphic disorder, a psychological disorder.
Of course it is.
You cannot, your brain will not accept the physical body that you inhabit.
Yeah,
and it's a terrible conflict, and it's fraught with suicide on both sides of transition, and I think this is going to simply make it worse because
I'm tired of all you guys' bigotry. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there who'll be more than happy to call me a turf. Biologically speaking, particularly when you get into sports and things like that, there is an enormous difference between males and females, and with them removing the exclusion from trans athletes, they're going to get somebody killed, and then they're going to be very virtuous about it.
Yeah, but one of my favorite things is they will call people TERFs, not realizing that you have to be a radical feminist to be a TERF.
Yeah.
Like, you can call me a TERF, but it makes no sense because I am not a feminist of any description, much less a radical feminist.
Right. I mean, it's like just another reason not to be a feminist is the existence of the word TERF.
Yeah. Like, if you are not a feminist, by definition, you cannot be a TERF.
Yep. Yeah, but they don't know what the words mean anymore. It's just reach in pocket, pull out insult.
But let us go on.
I was gonna say you guys
Yeah.
haven't even started the article, and you're.
Yeah,
There-
we're actually
there
out of
is
time
no-
now, so
Well,
For-
you're welcome. We saved you from the article.
for as long as I can remember, the topic of menstruation has been a women's issue. Despite the ever-expanding conversation around periods, people continue to slip each other tampons as if they are trading contraband. As periods have begun to be destigmatized through marketing and messaging, we have made one major mistake. We have continued to exclusively frame menstruation as something that only happens to women.
Because
How
it only
dare you.
happens to women.
No, it's a mistake,
That's
Moon.
it.
They just
Moonshock,
said.
you're off the stream. That's incredibly
All right. See.
transphobic.
Yeah.
Don't say anything that's really true. Truth is a white supremacist dog whistle.
That is actually true. So you just dog whistled.
Well, you
That's
just called it true, which means you just dog
Yes.
whistle.
This is,
Seriously.
this is a vicious cycle.
I'm ashamed to
Are we
believe.
really going to go down
I'm
this
glad
road?
you guys are all having auditory hallucinations.
If we are going to politically position ourselves as progressive and inclusive of all identities, then we must acknowledge that 1, not all women menstruate, and 2, not all people who menstruate are women.
Yes, they are.
Our conversations and the language we use when talking about periods is critical in destigmatizing menstruation for trans and non-binary folks.
There's
Using
no
tra-
such thing as a non-binary.
How much science you think is going to be in this article?
Zero.
How much actual fact-based evidence that isn't just agree with me because feels? How
No,
much
no,
of that
there-
argument's going to be that way?
There is already a factual statement in this article. Prospero mentioned it earlier. Not all women menstruate.
That's
Is a
correct.
factual
True.
statement.
That's
Yeah.
true, but I don't think she means it in the way the author means it.
and
Well,
until
Doesn't
so-
matter. That in isolation is a true statement.
Although I have no doubt that the author will try and use the fact that not all women menstruate in order to shoehorn in her other ideology. Oh, well, look at these menopausal women; they don't menstruate. Therefore, anyone who doesn't menstruate can call themselves a woman.
until science can explain how a shaman can call down the lightning, science is bigoted.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. You can't explain that.
Yeah.
Want to bet?
I think that was Bill O'Reilly who said that one.
Yeah, that was Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, it's not having one of his particularly sharp moments.
No.
Yeah.
Using trans-exclusive language is not only harmful medically, but it is also harmful socially and on a much more personal, emotional level within transgender communities.
Okay, hold the fuck up a minute. This is not only damaging medically. You know what's damaging medically? It's having chest pains and going in and telling the doctor you're a woman, you're not a man. When you're a man who identifies as a woman, the symptoms of heart attack are dramatically different between men and women. So, yay, let's just get rid of those kinds of things. And then 20 years down the line, we can hear about why isn't medicine doing more to save the lives of trans people who are having heart attacks?
Well, we can
Well, what if they
degender
just
heart attacks
identify
later.
as-
Right now we're talking about periods.
What if they just identify as having a healthy heart? Why can't they just fix it that way?
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
I wish them all the best.
What is trans inclusion and who is doing the work? When we talk about trans inclusion in traditionally women's topics, we cannot not address the more recent backlash from TERFs, or trans exclusionary radical feminists, who espouse extremely transphobic sentiments. Most prominent was the backlash against Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who voiced her opinion that trans people are somehow taking rights away from cisgender lesbians and gay men, and that trans women should not be invited into traditionally women's spaces.
What the fuck is a cisgender lesbian? I thought that was just called cis.
No, it's what they're saying is cisgender means you're not trans, and lesbian means woman who fucks women.
Oh,
So
for God's sake.
what they're saying is normal lesbians. Like cisgender just means normal. Just replace it with normal lesbians. gay men.
Then just say
can't-
fucking normal. Crazy.
You cannot say normal because that is bigoted against abnormality.
Can't we just take all these fucking people and drop them on an island and then just goddamn nuke the fucking island?
And I actually got into an argument on Twitter over this because I said, look, it is abnormal, but abnormal is not an insult. There's a lot of really positive attributes that are abnormal. Brock Lesnar, who is a professional wrestler, is abnormally strong and muscular.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Andre the Giant, beloved wrestler and actor, had
Abnormally short.
giganticism.
Yeah. It's like that is. They don't even normal. This is left over from the people who decided that you couldn't call somebody who literally was retarded.
Well, yeah. The idea is that there is an inherently negative attribute to a word, and then that word becomes bad because of the inherent attribute. So you change the word, but the attribute is still the same. So the next word you call it remains the same. If you have low self-esteem or a negative view of yourself, then the word changes all the time, which is why we've had to call black people like 20 different things, because a subset of black people who have this weird inferiority complex keep hearing the various words for black and then keep associating it with negative attributes.
Yep. And
Well,
we've circled back.
Oh, have you ever
words.
met? Have you actually met a genuine African person, and then who's actually seen a black person in America, and they say, and they laugh their asses off when they identify themselves as African Americans? They're like, "You are no fucking way, shape, or form African at all."
Yeah.
Well, there was an athlete of some kind. He was English. And someone said, what's it like being the first African American, whatever he was? And he goes, well, I'm English. I'm neither African nor American. So your question doesn't make any sense.
One of they're so married to their woke language. When the Algerian fella rescued that child falling off the balcony in France,
Hmm.
somebody referred to him as an African American.
Wow.
He was an Algerian living in France.
Mm.
He
Close
was
enough. Close enough.
He was North African, hoping to become a French citizen. Nothing American about him at all.
Mhm.
You could have said Afro-French, perhaps, like Afro-Carib is used.
No. The French don't like that. If you're French, you call yourself French. If you're French, even if you're an immigrant from Africa and you become a French citizen, they want you to call them French.
Mhm. It makes
No hyphens.
it makes sense because the hyphen is stupid.
Well, no,
But-
it makes a lot of sense, because if I want to move to another country, I want to be a citizen of another country, I want to be a citizen of that country. I don't want there to be any
I think
asterisks
you-
next to my name.
I think you're both forgetting something very important. The Latinx debacle proves they don't give a fuck what they want. It is what is politically correct, not what the so-called oppressed people actually want. That's irrelevant.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Being called Latinx, fuck them. We're calling them that anyway.
now that we're done with French black people,
We're white and we're
Yes.
woke, and we will tell you who the fuck you are, is what the Latinx thing is.
Yes, exactly.
Aside from the fact that this argument relies on the same misogynistic argument used to restrict equal distributions of power and wealth to cisgendered women and POCs, her argument also attempts to divide the queer community at the very time when it should be united.
They're
Her
queer,
argument-
all right.
Her argument is made all the more crazy and out of touch by the fact that Pride was started by trans people of color, and therefore they are at the center of any conversation around inclusion.
I imagine they were probably also Marxists, because that's where all this shit stems from. All of it. March.
Did you guys just see what evolved? Which is why we should change African American to Basketball American.
Yeah,
There
I've
you
heard
go.
that one.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it that Matt and Blonde said on their show the other day? Oh,
Adhesive American. because of the Gorilla Glue girl. That was a good one. That was someone in chat.
Gorilla Glue American. There you go.
Those who believe topics like menstruation shouldn't include trans people are themselves subject to the same heteronormative misogynistic lens that makes all of our experiences less colorful, less safe, and less inviting.
Well, I'm just going to say we should all be heteronormative because it is the norm.
Yeah, but it's hetero, which is fascist.
What the hell was that? Was that an orange or some shit like that you just scrolled past?
I don't know.
And,
He sounds afraid too.
Maybe it's a blood orange.
it's a Frida Kahlo painting.
But Cynic in chat says, are black people who work at KFC chicken pox? And I just full attention to that.
That is well done.
I've heard American, but that's a bit too racist.
I still like the idea that black midgets are smallpox.
Yes.
We should all know by, huh?
No. I was just gonna say, and they did it to themselves by insisting on being called people of color.
Yeah.
We should all know by now that the language we use is very powerful. So one of the first things we can do to be trans-inclusive when it comes to menstruation is by using language that literally includes all people. I know that this might feel unnatural at first, perhaps even clunky and obnoxious. Saying people saying people who menstruate or menstruators or uterus owners instead of just women has an important
Owners.
Yes.
I'm sorry. All right. Is there a uterus store that nobody told me about?
I mean, not all of us.
Can I just rent one? Because
Yeah, not all of us are rich. I timeshare a uterus.
I go to Rent-A-Center and pick up a uterus just like I'd pick up a goddamn backhoe.
I'd like to see the insurance policy on that.
No kidding. It's just, oh God. Can I get renter's insurance coverage for this uterus I'm renting?
Instead of just women has an important impact on building a more inclusive conversation and world. Changing our language to be trans-inclusive is only the first step because despite the importance of changing our language, there are practical challenges that need to be overcome too. People who use men's public bathrooms and get periods do not have access to sanitary bins or dispensers.
Are there no Okay.
This person just said that there's no definitive gender. There's nothing that would define. Oh, look, you're a man, but you menstruate, right? No. No, look, you're a woman, you menstruate, right? No. So why the fuck do we care what these people want in their bathrooms?
Cass Clemmer. Oh, sorry.
No, that's just utterances. Sorry.
Oh, we broke Prospero.
It was quick.
What I want to know is why has this thing that has served society so goddamn well for the last, 10,000 years, why is it suddenly incompatible with everything that these people stand for? Why is it that everything that has been one way for basically all of written human history,
you want to know what it was?
Is suddenly the most evil thing imaginable?
Because their ideology is the destruction of society. So if it works for society, they have to destroy it. That's their stated game plan. They're not even hiding the fact that this is what they want. They want to destroy Western society.
There is one common element in all of this, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's called the internet. If the internet did not exist, these people would be off in their little corners of everywhere, wherever the fuck they're from. But the internet brought them all together brought this
I'm
whole
gonna
stupid movement to
disagree.
light.
Yeah,
Fine.
I have it on very good authority that the internet is for porn.
No, the thing is though that this ideology has existed for ages and ages and ages. It's always just existed on the back burner until
Exactly.
now, because we've seen these things being played out. We've seen the indoctrination of major societal outlets like the media, like television, by this ideological crap before the internet happened.
what happened is the internet put it on blast and has actually sped it up. Would be how
Yes,
I.
it has accelerated it. That's what it's
Yes.
done.
What they're that's fine. Use your 50-cent words, smart ass. The moral relativism was one of the first big blows. Part of the whole PC movement that started in the 80s. It only really got as noxious as it is now.
I just want to interject. YouTube actually blocked my message of grab your dick and double click for porn, porn, porn. Like I typed that into chat and censored it.
Wow.
But thank God we're
It's a
safe from
musical
that.
Grab your dick and double click.
It's a lyric from a musical. They'll allow Hamilton, but they won't allow that.
Seriously? Wow.
I just found an
It's a-
occupation that I want put on my business cards. Cass Clemmer, an American menstrual activist.
What?
Oh, okay, now that is properly spelled. We're not talking about somebody who is
Oh,
a-
the next description is going to be even worse.
Oh
And
yeah,
Can I be an American masturbation advocate?
of course you can.
I think that men need to jerk off more.
Hey, I'm doing my part.
everybody needs to jerk off more. They've got way too much spare time.
All I'm
shit.
saying is I'm doing my part to make this right.
I'm doing my
It's like-
part right now. No, I'm joking.
It's like
Thank you, Jeffrey Tubin.
it's like Starship Troopers. I'm doing my part.
That's right.
Well, I'm sorry, but if whacking off guarantees citizenship, we're going to have a major problem with that open borders thing.
Oh.
The border wall has a glory hole in it.
Ew.
I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't already.
An
Oh, Jack would
American an American menstrual activist and non-binary trans menstruator
How the
Wrote-
fuck? Whatever.
I
wrote
love
in,
that.
wrote in HuffPost, "The persistent gendered messages I regularly encounter hit me like thousands of metal slivers piercing through my skin.
If
The
only.
feminine hygiene signs, the lack of disposal bins in men's restrooms, the sanitized advertisements featuring thin white women preserving their femininity with dainty white pads and periwinkle blood. For many trans and non-binary people, menstruation can further intensify their existing sense of body dysmorphia."
Okay, first of all, I thought we have already established that there's no fucking such thing as a non-binary trans person.
You would think, but logic is not part of their ideology.
And second
where
of
does-
all,
And
Hold on.
oh, sorry.
no problem. This dainty white pads with periwinkle blood. If you've ever talked to any woman who has menstruated and they will, if they actually showed you what appears on those pads, you're going to thank these people for giving that blue liquid that they show in the commercials. You sure as fuck don't want to see the real thing.
And
Correct.
Exactly.
And I would just like to point out that this author is a fatty. Because that is the only reason I can imagine this author including the word thin in that description.
Jack,
Because-
they identify as chubsters. Thank you very much.
Because they
Probably correct.
project all of their personal insecurities into their advocacy.
Yeah.
That's all this is. That's all it is it's projecting. It's you're insecure about something, and so now you must advocate to change all of society to make you feel less insecure about who you are, or in this case how big a tub of lard you are.
This next sentence is much more entertaining if you stop it early. Amber Lenventry is a queer, non-binary writer and advocate that explained this body dysmorphia, saying, "The bloating, bleeding, and breast pain before and during my period are awful reminders that I have a body I don't want."
I would think it would be, in the interest of a moment of kindness. I think that would be hard. But I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Your life is hard. Get a fucking helmet.
The added intensity of not feeling right in your body can be significantly I think they mean compounded, during menstruation by severe depression and anxiety caused by premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD.
No, just no.
What premenstrual dysphoric disorder?
Like, I get it. Like, if you are a woman who identifies as a man, having a period probably is a traumatic experience that does, renew your dysphoria in all new horrible ways.
Oh, well, yeah, because of the hormonal flood that's occurring too,
but
the progesterone
Not
issue.
much we can do about that. I mean, it sucks, but you have
Other
to
than
deal with
hormone blockers, but
Well, the question that I have is, when these women who want to be men, they have this whole reassignment thing. Granted, they get the addictomy, but do they get the whole hysterectomy, all that other kind of shit pulled out, or do they just kind of have a fake dick and there you go?
it'll depend on whether they want to be a man that has a child.
No, but I believe it depends on, like, from what I understand, what is the main cause of their dysphoria. Because I saw Blair White's video on why she's not getting bottom surgery, and she basically said that she was very dysphoric about how masculine her face was, and that was causing her more dysphoria than the penis itself. Didn't bother her once she got her face looking feminine. So I think they will get whatever surgeries, one, they can afford, and two, address the biggest causes of their issues.
Frankly, I hadn't thought about the trans-exclusive language around menstruation until I started doing academic research on menstrual hygiene management. As I considered the branding and language being used, I realized that even progressive brands and organizations attempting to curtail period poverty and to provide safe products were unintentionally marginalizing trans and non-binary folks. Let's see. The old and the new, brands that are doing it right. Picture it, you're standing in the aisle of your local pharmacy, and in front of you is a wall of magentas, fuchsias, and pinks. You notice the doily little flowers speckling the boxes and floral-scented tampons, and right above the shelf hangs a sign that reads "Feminine Hygiene."
How dare they? What's feminine about tampons?
Yeah. There should be pictures of explosions and monster trucks on it.
Exactly.
Part of this bold rebrand of the menstrual hygiene market was meant to empower women to embrace their periods. But that is exactly part of the issue. It was meant for cisgender women, and relied on the idea that all women need is something bright pink with a flower on it to feel empowered.
Okay. Not to put too fine a point on it here, but when I was young, predominantly pads were used, and Kotex was blue. So we got ourselves a problem. Things went more pink when women entered the workforce. So this is a deeply misogynistic.
Yeah, but what kind of women? Cis-het women.
Yeah. And they hate those women,
Yeah.
obviously.
They really do.
They were
I
probably
wanna know-
turfs.
I want to know why the fuck we have to change all of this shit for like less than 1% of the population.
Because their goal is to destroy society.
I thought the
Because-
1% were the bad guys.
It is to conform society. Well, aside from what Terry said, the smaller picture goal is to conform society to the minority instead of to the majority, which is what you're supposed to do to make things functional. Because, I mean, that's what you need to do. It just makes basic sense. I'm sorry, but the world does not conform to the needs of the 1%. It conforms to the needs of the vast majority of people.
Try telling that to Hasbro. They changed fucking Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah,
No,
but
this-
you know,
this-
Tampax boxes are still blue and green. That couldn't be any more inclusive.
No, this is like the you know that cartoon or comic or whatever where they're saying this is equality and they're all standing on boxes and some of them can't see and this is equity. Well, there's
Yeah.
a follow up to that. It's like that was equity in theory. Equity in practice is they all have their legs cut off so they're the same height as the short guy.
Yep.
And this is what they're doing. This is like why they're making everyone conform to the 1%. You can't lift everyone up. That's not possible. But you can bring everyone down. And that's the only way equality or equity is possible is bring everyone down to the lowest level because you can't elevate everyone. It doesn't work.
Yes,
It's-
Harrison Bergeron weaponized.
It's because the nature of this whole thing is the nature of the Marxist ideology in general is to deconstruct and then reconstruct in the perfect image. And the thing is that you can't really rewrite human nature. And so the reconstruct is impossible. And so we have a group of people and all they know how to do is deconstruct. And then you end up with a broken society, which is what they're trying to create right now.
All right. I'm just going to do the next paragraph and then we'll move on.
Merciful Christ. Thank you.
Unless you want me to continue.
No,
No.
thank you. No, no, no.
I hate to.
I
can
will
just-
actually pay you to stop.
I'm fine
How much?
as long as you go back to the start and take it from the top.
Yeah.
No, please
Now,
don't.
nowadays, pop culture conversations around menstruation highlight terms like womanhood, feminine hygiene, and tough like a girl. While this language is a fantastic shift from the shameful, embarrassing, and gross language employed in historical conversations about menstruation, it neglects to invite our trans and non-binary community into the conversation. Those who believe
Because it's never good enough. I'm sorry.
Those who believe topics like menstruation shouldn't include trans people are themselves subject to the same heteronormative misogynistic lens that makes all of our experiences less colorful, less safe, and less inviting.
Could they solve the problem by putting "Now for faggots too" on the boxes of the tampons? That should solve it, right?
I think there's only one way to find out.
I just imagined like a local news article, and one man was charged with writing "faggot" on all of the tampons.
He was arrested shouting, "I'm an ally, I'm an ally."
I'm trying to help.
Making menstrual hygiene products inviting to trans and non-binary folks does not threaten my womanhood, and it certainly doesn't take away my rights as a woman. The co-founder of the charity Bloody Good
Wanna
Period,
I just love the name.
the charity Bloody Good Period, Gabby Edlin, expressed this perfectly when she wrote, "People talk about trans inclusion and racing women, but I've never felt erased in any of the work that I do when I include trans people. Seeing feminine symbols and design on period products is not how I feel like a woman."
Try saying that to female athletes.
Yeah, that there won't be a problem.
Yeah, they're not getting erased at all, except for
They're got
all
their
of the
scholarships
leaderboards.
and all their leaderboards, all the scholarships. I mean, there is
Hmm.
going to, if you can start drafting 6'7" trans people instead of 6'1" biological women, what are you going to do?
Well,
Yeah,
I think was it Zuby who broke the weightlifting record by
Uh-huh.
identifying as a woman,
Yes.
for like 15 seconds to lift the weight and then drop it again.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they going to argue with it?
They can't. They made this trap for themselves.
And
Well,
there
no, well,
was an Australian
get it.
politician. There was there was an Australian politician called Barry O'Sullivan, I think his name was, and because they said that only women had a right to talk about women's issues, he just
Uh-huh.
identified as a woman.
Oh yeah, and then they told him that he was a horrible, horrible transphobe for doing so, and he's like, you don't have the right to say who is and who is not a woman.
The best thing about it was on the Wikipedia page, there was a full-blown argument in the edit section over whether to actually refer to Barry as a he or a she. Like full-on pages of arguments.
I'd vote
Yeah,
for
But
it.
the thing is that we can talk about, oh well, they're trapped within their own argument all day long. But the fact is that these people know they're hypocrites. They know that they're inconsistent on everything. They don't care. They don't care that they're inconsistent.
The so-called thought leaders in the movement know that they're inconsistent and that they're hypocritical. A lot of these useful idiots who are running around going, aha, and copy pasta on Twitter and hashtag cancel whomever this week, they aren't. They really think they're being good allies. It's like I think Chelsea Handler was absolutely serious when she said she had to remind 50 Cent that he was a black man.
Well, yeah, they have to know their place.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, of course, she
I
wouldn't
don't-
recognize that irony. But there enough weaponized stupidity, Jack. All you need are a few smart people running the NPC core.
No, I think that the problem is that these people don't know how to interpret. They don't know how to interpret a logical disconnect. They don't know how to interpret their what's it called when people get angry when you prove them wrong? Cognitive dissonance. They don't know how to interpret it, and so they just run with it. And they probably know deep down that what they were saying was logically inconsistent. But
They'd
feels
have to know
better.
logic in the first place, Jack.
Can I just
They'd have
point
to have
out-
critical thinking skills, and they don't.
Can I just point out, if you look at the screen, this says 7-minute read. I just wanted to highlight that fact.
Sorry.
Well, I doubt they intend it to be streamed. All right. But with the end of the first article comes the first game. And that is Sad Libs.
Oh.
This is where I take 4 different medium headlines and take out one word, and each of you has to fill in that word Mad Lib style. And then the chat will vote on whichever one is the best. So, from Jack, I need an exclamation.
Cunt.
Cunt? Let's see. Okay.
It probably won't work at all, but I just had to say it.
For Moonshock, I need a noun. I like that
penis.
I like that now it just says Jack Gunsky, cunt.
Yeah, well, mine's gonna say Moonshock, prosthetic penis.
Well,
Yes.
no, I'm just thinking when my turn comes, I just realized something.
Terry, you have location plural.
I can actually use the same answer as last week, concentration camps.
Jesus. When I saw that, I was like, plural, like what? Like a Boston's or Washington's?
Well, I think they mean like prisons.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just that my brain had that momentary disconnect.
And Prospero, you have a place.
Wakanda.
I know what it's gonna be, and that actually works perfectly.
Oh dear.
All right. So let's see. Jax is. Everyone shouts cunt, but heaven forbid we change anything. Moonshocks. A restorative justice approach to prosthetic penis violence.
Okay then.
And
I'd
Terry's.
like to see the coroner's report.
Really
And Terry's.
clubbed to death with a fake dick.
Why being black in concentration camps feels so uncomfortable.
Hey, this isn't China, folks. This isn't China.
And Prospero's. Stevie Wonder gives up on America, moving to Wakanda permanently.
I actually know what that headline's referring to.
All right.
Oh,
And I'm
We've
now
got
going to
some
start
good
the
ones.
poll. I'm now going to start the poll for the chat. So vote on whichever you think is funniest. You have about 90 seconds.
Why being black in concentration camp?
isn't that perfect?
I mean, it would be uncomfortable.
Good. But I
Oh,
was
man.
just like, I can't believe I get to use the same answer twice in a row. It's like it just lined up perfectly.
I like the last two, I gotta say. They're really good.
I would probably have to go with Terry's.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's
Yeah.
see. Looks like Prospero's in the lead, followed by Terry.
Get in those vote tees, people.
Oh, Terry overtook him. Overtook her.
Oh,
Yeah, that is perfect.
All right. A little over 30 seconds left. So get your votes in. Everyone shouts cunt, but heaven forbid we change anything.
How would you bring restorative justice to prosthetic penis violence?
I know I'm biased, but I do think mine is the funniest. Not because it's mine, just the sentence just sort of
Yeah.
it's true. It's actually accurate.
All right. And the poll's closed, and the winner is Terry, followed closely by Prospero.
Nice.
It's nice to have concentration camp in your back pocket, isn't it? You know, you just keep using it, and probably 90% of the time you'll win.
I'll have to make sure Terry's isn't placed next week.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
then you just sort
Well, that
of
would be
like,
pretty awful. Stevie Wonder's moving to a concentration camp permanently.
something, and I'll do concentration camp anyway.
I'll make it a verb.
Yeah, you'll have to.
All right. And now our next article. Mom, can I opt out of white history class?
Oh my god.
And I just like my reply, which was, if you're asking questions that stupid, you shouldn't be opting out of any classes.
How I answered my son, plus 10 ideas for what teachers and parents must do to eliminate the need for this question. By Jean Yakubu MS.
The
Oh,
fuck?
she has MS.
Yakubu?
The answer, you know, I get the feeling, Frosted, that the answer is going to include throw more black people into history books, regardless of what they did.
As a white mom, my brown son's question made me ashamed of my country even more than the Capitol coup did.
Oh God.
The question
It was
came-
like 9/11 times 1,000.
Like the Team America joke. It's like 9/11 times 100. You mean? Yes.
91,100.
The question came the day after I had heard about the Utah families that recently made national headlines when they requested to opt out of Black History Month. Apparently, the school offered the opt-out, and some families liked the choice. After backlash, the school rescinded the offer. But what does that mean? I guess that means their children participated in learning about famous black Americans in the predominantly white Montessori school because that is traditionally how Black History Month is celebrated in the United States.
I don't think you should be allowed to opt out of any class. Like, you should be learning only stuff that you need, and so you shouldn't be able to opt out of any of it, because if you do, you'll fail the test.
Well, yes, but these people think that you need to know this stuff.
No, I'm fine with that. It's like, you shouldn't be able to opt out of Black History Month or White History Month or science or maths or physics. Like, it should only be, these are things that you are studying. You need to know them. If you opt out of the class, you will fail.
Let's see. Maybe their children brought home pages from coloring books showing black leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Rosa Parks, but lacking multicultural crayons. Their faces were left white. Peach
for
was
fuck's sake.
Peach was the only skin.
Multicultural crayons. What the-
Multicultural. There are brown crayons in every package of Crayola. There
Yeah.
is no white skin crayon.
No,
Yeah.
There
no,
is no white skin crayon.
no,
Yeah,
there isn't.
I never had a skin colored crayon. I would just like lightly use the orange one.
There was, when I was younger, there were some that tended toward flesh color. There was a pinky brown
Yeah,
one, you know, but
the one they mentioned, I'm pretty sure I had peach-colored crayons
Mhm.
when I was a
There,
kid.
there
But
was
that
there was once apparently a Crayola color called flesh that
Yeah.
was supposed to resemble white people, but it was discontinued for obvious reasons.
yeah, but there
Well-
was burnt umber, there was brown, there was sienna. I mean, there were a large number of tones that you could
But
use. It was one called
besides-
flesh.
But besides anything else, flesh is just a disgusting name for a color. Like, it sounds revolting to be coloring in with flesh. Ugh.
Yeah, it does. It's,
Yeah.
It's
And
a
besides,
little.
when I think of flesh, I don't think of white skin. I think of like blood and gore and ugh.
Mhm.
Of course, Black history is much more an integral part of the U.S. American history than a white-focused curriculum developed for any grade level by whites would dare to portray. By his question, I knew that this was what 16-year-old brown-skinned Jamil was getting at. After stating the question, he went on, "My U.S. history class is almost all about whites and how great they are. But I know from what we read during homeschooling that this is not true. Remember that Zinn book?"
That's a parenting issue.
Oh, no, you didn't. You did not.
So what?
Nope. No, you did not just say Zinn. You did not just say Howard Zinn, that motherfucking Marxist piece of dog shit, history revisionist piece of shit, dog shit, Howard Zinn.
So why do I have to...
Let me guess, a people's history of the United States piece of dog shit, motherfucking revisionist bullshit.
So why do I have to sit through all the lies? He looked frustrated and angry by the time he got to
Lies?
the last word.
Yep. It's true. What you learned was true. You just didn't like to hear it because you want to hear about how bad white people are because it fits your personal needs. Well, guess what? History don't conform to your personal needs, bitch. Maybe that's what you should be learning.
I think there's some truth here. I mean, Michael Jackson sang bad, and he was white eventually.
Jamil was referring to Howard Zinn's classic, A People's History of the United States, which I highly recommend for the other historical
Spit on that
perspective.
fucker's grave. I will go to his grave personally just to urinate on it.
So I think Jack's a fan, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have said for years and years that there are very few people that I very much hate, and Howard Zinn has always been number one on the list. Always.
Jack never had multicultural crayons.
Dog shit, motherfucking history burner, piece of shit.
After a few moments, I replied in a calm voice, "You chose to go to public school, so you're required to take certain classes. U.S. history happens to be one of them. You don't have to believe what you read or what the teacher says, but you will hear the comments from classmates."
Oh, but you did believe the revisionist piece of shit. Go on.
Well, yeah, but that was
Well,
correct.
I don't blame the kid for that. I mean, if they were taught by their parents who they trust that this is what really happened, why wouldn't they think that's the truth? I don't blame
Yeah.
the kid. I blame the parents.
However, as a student with a sharp mind and a solid background in the subject, why don't you speak up? Show them where they're wrong, that they're not seeing the whole story. Better yet, bring in documented sources with evidence showing exactly where the lies, misinformation, or disinformation is.
That'll make him very popular amongst his fellow classmates.
Yes.
Mhm.
Please do that. Please do that so that way you can get beat up, because then the smart kids will show you how the world really works.
While I said this, I felt ashamed as a white American asking my son to set the record straight on what white people did here ever since their arrival. He's
Oh,
just
oh, 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 oh. Okay, never mind. Go ahead. Never mind. I just smell 1619.
I know where this is going.
I am smelling a boatload of 1619 coming.
He's just a high school student. It's not his job. But given how difficult it is for a public school teacher to revise the curriculum by themselves without risking job loss, I was suggesting an indirect, circumspect way for an individual student to change the direction of the historical narrative in his class. Call it subversive if you want. Sure, the teacher
Yes.
could always shut him down, or other students could bully him into silence through their white fragility.
As they should.
Yeah. Still, I encourage Jamil to speak up and speak out, to become engaged as an active participant in teaching and learning history. Even more than students, teachers and parents acting as co-teachers during virtual school have a prime place to redirect the conversation about Black history during February and throughout the year.
What an arrogant little prick, both this parent and their kid. Because what kind of arrogance does it take to assume that you know better than everyone else because you read a fucking book? Congratulations, kid. You read a fucking book. Brav the fuck oh. I guess you're smarter than the rest of the world now because you read a fucking book, and now you need to instruct.
I used to read fucking books all the time, but I had to hide them under the bed so my parents wouldn't find them.
And he's speaking his truth, so he can't be wrong.
Yeah.
So, here are 10 ways teachers can 1. Create a classroom environment conducive to opening minds about Black history and presenting the truth about white history, and 2. Integrate Black history in the white-centered curriculum while staying below the radar of the school administration. Of course, advocate for curriculum reform in your department or school at the same time. Lacking that, you have to take matters into your own hands while holding on to your job. I'm trying to be realistic.
Sure you are.
So, number 1, post a racial justice statement in your classroom and request that everyone signs. Sort of like a contract, a racial justice statement gives you the chance to be explicit about what kind of language is appropriate or not, and the type of civil discourse expected during class. Ask everyone to sign it. If students refuse, ask them why they don't wish to sign.
This is really historical, isn't it? Really, lots of history involved with this.
Oh, there sure is.
Browbeating your fellow students involved with it. Doesn't sound like a Chinese struggle session to me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it's historic reenactment of pretty much anything Stalin or Mao ever did.
You can't force anyone or penalize them for it grade-wise, but their lack of participation is telling.
Oh, yeah. So you socially ostracize them because that's always a good idea to do to high school students. What? But you think your fucking kid's being bullied because your kid is the perfect one because he read the fucking book.
He read a little book.
All those other kids haven't read the proper book.
And so when they say, I'm opting out of this mind control bullshit,
Guess what? I read a book that says fuck Howard Zinn. How do you like that, bitch?
yeah,
What
I
kind
did.
of like? What are they? Are they just saying don't say nigger, or are they like? Are they going to be like? What are they asking them to?
You know what it's gonna say. You know it's gonna have the exact same list that every BLM piece of shit has ever concocted that sounds absolutely ludicrous.
that there is nothing but systemic racism. It is down in the cellular matter of every plant and animal that exists in the Western world anywhere.
I acknowledge my whiteness and how my whiteness contributes to my privilege, and I will do better in the future to provide more opportunities to people of color.
Well, they do
I
provide
wonder-
a sample contract up ahead.
Oh, okay, good.
Shit.
Oh my God.
Well, no, I want to see it.
Hey, yeah,
How-
I'll be right back. I've got to go get some nerve medicine.
Why?
No worries.
Talk about it with your students from the first day. Explain your rationale. Give examples of phrases or terms which are not permitted. Refer to it during the year when issues arise. If, during the discussion, students propose additions or modifications to it, consider revising it. Think of it as the ultimate class project.
But what about the kids who didn't sign? Like, if you didn't sign it, and then the issue arises, they go, "Well, what about this contract? You know, didn't sign it. Fuck off." Like, if they don't agree to it? How are you going to use it to?
Well, they're
do
probably
anything?
white, so their opinion doesn't matter anyway.
Well, that's true.
Here's an example of a racial justice contract for your class.
Here we go.
Number 1, everyone is welcome here.
X'd it out.
Even the scum that didn't sign the contract.
Yeah.
Number 2, everyone can voice their opinion so long as they don't shout, talk over someone, interrupt, or use disrespectful or insulting language.
Why do I get the feeling that we're about to hear just a lot of insulting language in this thing alone?
Buckle up, Whitey.
3, no one will discriminate against anyone else because of race, color, sex, sexual orientation, sexual or gender identity, creed, religion, ancestry, or national origin, or any sensory, mental, or physical handicap.
See,
Is
I
it wrong?
disagree with Creed.
I just want to yell
I
nigger
disagree with
faggot.
Creed. You should be allowed to beat up people who like that band.
Mhm.
4, no one will harass anyone else by bullying, intimidation, direct insults, or malicious gossip.
Except by dint of not signing the pledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to keep that straight.
Well, in that case, they have it coming.
Oh, that's very homophobic of you, Prospero.
Yeah, I'm trying to be a good ally.
5, we accept the following list as examples of harassment: sabotaging someone else's work on purpose, minimizing someone else's contributions to our class, degrading someone for making suggestions or answering a question, commenting negatively on a person's national origin or religious beliefs, confronting someone in anger, gaslighting as a way to prove a point, lying about another person, and meeting, online or offline, to plan for or publicly humiliate someone else. And number 6, our teacher reserves the right to refer to this contract at any time. If the discrimination or harassment doesn't stop, they will seek disciplinary action, including suspension or expulsion from school.
Bullshit. I would like to. You know what? I hope that this person manages to get some kids to sign the contract, because all it needs to happen is for a parent to read one of these and get their lawyer involved. Because now you're talking about taking some sort of executive action at the public school level.
Yeah, they can't. It's
It's illegal.
it is not enforceable because they are not of age to enter into any kind of contract that is binding.
Not only that, but the fact that it is a public school means that you're allowed to do just about all of this shit and not actually receive any sort of like trouble for it at this capacity. If you were to do this, if you were to try and get a kid suspended because he talked over someone, their parents would get involved, and then their lawyer would get involved.
Bringing lawyers into it would be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I
Above
would
all,
love to see. Oh, sorry.
above all, do not be afraid of calling the offending language or behavior racist. Indicate that it's an example of white supremacy, racial stereotype, or racial bias, if it is.
So it's racist, but it's also white supremacist. You are automatically excluding yourself from the very behaviors of this contract that you just proposed right now.
Well, no, they're including racial stereotypes and racial bias, but they're the lesser forms of racism.
Joe
Yeah.
Biden told me there were different cultural norms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I believe I come from a culture that interrupts people when they're being stupid. So
Mhm.
I get to talk over I get to talk over the teacher. Because the teacher's going to be grade A prime stupid.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's gonna love this contract.
Mm-hmm.
Little Nazi sympathizer that she is.
Yeah, this kind of shit, depending upon the school district, will be precisely the cup of tea of most of the teachers. But
Oh yeah.
this is wow. It's probably a very good thing I didn't have kids.
Mhm.
I'd be in jail.
I would like to just not put my kids into the school system at all. Just not private homeschool the little bastard, so that way he doesn't learn all this crazy shit.
Now, they're private schools that you can suss out what kind of bullshit they're floating, with the simple question, is there any Robin DiAngelo CRT in your curriculum or
I
any of your
think
teacher
that's
training?
not the right idea. Just don't have kids. A much
Yeah.
easier.
All right. Number 2. Practice interrupting or addressing racist comments or behavior before class.
This is racist.
Mhm.
It's too easy to think just let it go just this once. Unless you're in the most lily white school imaginable, rest assured there's someone in your class who's offended. They
Well,
probably
let them be offended. Nothing happens when you're offended, to quote Steve Hughes.
also white people can't be offended apparently.
Of course not.
They probably won't speak up at
Sense. Like, white people can't be offended. Black people can't be racist. It's all coming together.
Of
Yeah.
course. That's the way it always is.
They probably won't speak up at the risk of losing all credibility and being totally shunned by their peers forever.
Good.
But know that racism stings, devalues, denigrates.
Look at the
Hang
middle
on,
of
hang
that
on. Denigrates is awfully close to a word that we shouldn't
Did
be
you see
including in this article.
the very middle syllable of that last word?
Yeah, yeah,
denigrates?
It denigrates.
It's NIGR. That's basically the word with like a couple letters missing.
Yeah.
And they need to rewrite this.
If you want to be more diverse, you have to be nigrated.
That's exactly right.
Oh my god.
So, as the teacher, lead the way in halting racist language and behavior. Your black and brown students will appreciate it. However,
The Asians won't. So
Yeah.
you can be into the Asians as you want. They won't appreciate you stopping the racist language.
However, especially if you're a white teacher, it may not be easy to stop the flow of the class and call out racism. What exactly do you say? Have a rehearsed statement ready. Practice it often at home. Discuss it with your fellow colleagues and run it by them. Maybe they'll do the same thing in their class, or already are.
I got an idea. Why doesn't Karen here open up her own school?
Because it would probably end up like the Jones death cult or something.
Oh, that sounds perfect to me.
Possibly.
Nothing of value was lost.
Possibly, if they're already set up to deal with overt racism in their classes, compare prepared statements and craft better ones together. When more people are on board, the racial justice contract will be more effective. So when emotions are running high due to the triggering that certain words or phrases evoke, you'll be prepared to handle it with your rehearsed response. For
Say
instance,
nigger. Sorry.
for instance, hold on a minute. I need to point out the comment that was just made. Use of the N-word is not okay here, under any circumstances. I referred you to our racial justice contract. Let's look at it now.
I didn't sign that, so fuck you, nigger.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, go get nigerated.
And I love how, like, without this contract or whatever, they're implying that someone saying the N-word would not be punished in school.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I've got my own idea about what I would call every last one of them. You just know. You just know with a contract like that, some kid's going to jump up and go, okay, listen up, all you nigger faggots.
I mean, I think the way around it, if you're familiar with an old brand of soap pads, would be to call the black kids soap pads, because we had nigger boy soap pads as a legitimate brand of soap pads that existed in Australia. So just refer to all the black kids as soap pads. There's nothing racist about the words soap pad. There you go. You can indirectly call them anything you like.
Yeah, but you're
Until the
forgetting
word
that.
soap pad gets banned.
Yeah, you're forgetting that the word jogger and orc are bad now. So
Yeah, and most people here would think of Brillo.
think of what?
Brillo.
Really.
Oh. Then read the statement that prohibits the language or behavior observed. Ask if anyone has a problem with your enforcement or the contract. Wait for responses. If in
I'm sorry, do you have a problem with this bullshit? Oh, no, not at all. Please carry on. It's only my child's education.
If in the worst case scenario, a racist non-signer expresses disagreement or continues in their harassment and flagrant violation of the contract,
Look
you
at that. You started this whole thing by saying that you're not going to get in trouble for not signing it, and now you've assigned them this title,
Yep.
a racist non-signer. You're already harassing them, and you haven't even written the fucking thing yet, you cunt.
Oh,
Yep.
I love how sinister this next part sounds. A racist non-signer expresses disagreement or continues in their harassment and flagrant violation of the contract. You must silence them.
In flagrant,
Wow.
in flagrant violation of the contract, they didn't sign.
Yeah, that isn't valid anywhere. But yeah, I mean, like Jack said, it's just so obvious. If they don't sign it, they must be racist. As opposed to, this is utterly invalid. You can't enforce it. It's retarded. No, you're a racist if you don't want to sign our admission that you're a racist statement. Because it's basically a trap. You
Yeah.
sign this statement, and anything you say that upsets anyone gets you labeled a racist.
Unless you upset a white kid. That's okay.
Seek disciplinary action from your school administration if necessary.
There's flat out said there'll be no consequences to not signing this.
No,
Now
I think they said you can't punish them with their grades. You can't lower their grade for not signing. I don't think they said you can't punish them.
Oh, you can just expel them instead, because that'll
Yes,
keep their
correct.
grades up.
But you can't lower their grades.
Well, if they're not there to be graded, that works out.
Exactly.
So
Wow.
I'm going to skip ahead to some of the more interesting.
Where do you find this shit? I mean,
Medium.
serious. All of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, Medium is
yeah.
the best website in the world.
Yeah.
Look at that. This person is referencing Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Nice.
Hey, no spoilers, Jack.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's on the screen. It's not really a spoiler.
All right, I'm going to skip ahead to some of the more interesting parts of the list. Number 5.
Oh, shit.
Learn more about race and racism in history and integrate them into your curriculum. As I mentioned
Oh,
previously. As I mentioned
that-
previously. I understand that you're limited by what you can do and say in the classroom. You could lose your job if you stray too far from the county or state approved curriculum. It's the
And
too
rightly so.
it's the too far part that I wish to focus on. First, in
Ugh.
order to assess what is too far, you need to have a complete picture of history yourself. Howard Zinn is a superb resource to begin with. Here are a few others: An Interactive and Animated History of the Atlantic Slave Trade, The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates, Citizenship and Social Justice website, NPR Audio, Historian Says Don't Sanitize How Our Government Created the Ghettos, ACLU on U.S. History, and National Book Review list. Once you survey...
God, it's a veritable who's who of historical illiterates.
Once you survey the whole subject, you're in a better position to integrate elements of history that will take it more truthful without going too far astray from what your principal expects. I accomplished this as an English teacher. My students were non-native speakers of English. I purposely created reading and writing assignments on topics culturally relevant to them. Being already able to grasp the content already, they could focus on the mechanics of language. As a result, their reading comprehension and writing abilities soared. How can you do the same in your class? Discuss with fellow teachers or contact me, email in my profile, for a brainstorming session. And I'm sure it's for a moderate fee.
Yes, I guarantee it.
Of course, they always are.
This woman sounds like absolute cancer.
Let's see. Number 7. Promote critical thinking and discussion on race and racism by asking higher level questions. There's too much teacher talk in classrooms today, both in person and virtual.
Yeah, that's because they're the fucking teacher. The teacher teaches. That's what they do. It's not the student's job to teach the teacher. That's backwards. You're a fucking moron.
Well, here in Clown World, everything is reversed.
Sometimes the lack of signs of life on blank screens, since students hate to be on camera, makes teachers feel like they're teaching to the walls or speaking into the vacuum known as cyberspace.
I'd
To
No,
say
they're
the
speaking
biggest.
into the vacuum known as the teenage mind. That's what they're
Mhm.
speaking into.
I'd say that the biggest. Oh shit! I forgot my.
Yes.
I was gonna make a jab at this woman for being an airhead.
All right, well, think about it, and I'll keep reading. To encourage discussion, ask challenging questions from the non-dominant point of view. Why questions are often higher order. Those beginning with the word evaluate, or similar words, are also higher order. These questions demand both synthesis and analysis of information. Provocative questions are those that require evaluation and judgment. Students need to support their point of view with evidence. Sadly, higher order questions are sorely lacking in education today. History class is an ideal place to implement them because most of history is open to comparatively stronger or weaker interpretations. With probing questions, I'd bet you'd get a reaction and some takers. Here are some examples of provocative questions in history.
It's the one thing that she's onto something. That higher order questions are sorely lacking, and it's by design.
Yeah, and it's not being made any better by motherfuckers like Howard Zinn.
Well, yeah, because her purpose with higher order questions is to then tell these people she thinks she's teaching critical thought
Yeah.
to what to think.
Now that I know about his hatred for Howard Zinn, I'm going to be able to better prepare when it's Jack's birthday stream.
Mhm.
Yeah, but the thing is that what she's saying is we need to ask more higher order questions so that people will question the general textbook. But then someone like me comes along and starts questioning Howard Zinn. How is she going to react? I imagine I already know. She's going to react by trying to be condescending. Oh, yes. What do you think about Howard Zinn? And then give me some basic bitch answers to anything I say, and be all condescending, but simultaneously totally pseudo intellectual about it, and then ignore anything that she doesn't want to hear.
All right. Well, I think we'll look at the list of example questions, and then we'll finish up with the article. Here are some examples of provocative questions in history. Number 1. Is the American dream accessible to blacks? Explain and support your view with examples. Number
Yes,
2.
Aunt Jemima. Oh, wait.
Yeah, they erased her.
Yeah. Number 2. Does black history in America differ from the common view of American history? Discuss ways it is and ways it isn't after delineating the black and the common views of American history.
If you're a racist piece of shit, yeah, it might differ.
Number 3. The founders wrote all men are created equal in the Declaration of Independence, yet many of them were slave owners. Discuss this apparent contradiction. If you see no contradiction, justify your position.
Because many of the founders realized that slavery was a problem and was eventually going to have to be reconciled within the country, but they couldn't say that outright in the Constitution because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to get the southern states to, or just about a lot of the slave owning states, or primarily slave owning states, to sign on to the deal. And if that was the case, they wouldn't have a country and they wouldn't be able to separate themselves from the British. So they made a strategic decision to allow this one particular thing to slip by. However, they encoded into the Constitution the philosophy that would eventually lead the country to undoing that decision.
And aren't
Look,
these people the same ones
They were
who...
worth 3/5 of a person. What more do they want?
What was that?
I said they were worth 3/5 of a person. What more do they want?
Yeah,
It's-
4/5.
It's funny because the 3/5 thing was actually an anti-slavery agenda thing, because the whole purpose of it was to if you discount how if you discount how
Those
This-
people were counted, they were actually putting them at a disadvantage for
Yeah.
if
the
if-
house
Yeah,
The-
it's really it's interesting because they did not want the slaveholding states to have more
representation. Yeah, so
if
you
they
don't
counted as a
count.
whole person, we probably would have had slavery longer.
Yeah,
Well, we didn't
and-
vote slavery out as it is, so there's it's hard to tell how that would have worked out, but it
So
might
what
have.
Prospero is saying is we should bring it back.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
you
yeah,
heard her.
I agree. All the slaves that exist in America today should only count for 3/5.
I think they should go back to being slaves. I think
Also, like the whole thing where the founders said men were created equal, but they owned slaves at the same time. Aren't these the same people who are like pro-socialism, and meanwhile they use iPhones and stuff, and they're like, oh, but in this society you need an iPhone to function and all that stuff, so it's okay.
that's not true at all.
Yeah.
You can function perfectly well without an iPhone.
But I mean, why can't you use the same excuse here, where they were against slavery, but just slavery was also a part of society back then?
Hey, different
Well, because
cultural
it's not
norms,
part
man.
of today's society, and they don't have any historical perspective.
Joe Biden told me that different cultural perspectives are a good thing.
Yes.
Mhm. Unless you're a Uyghur, then you're
Wait,
shut out.
I just realized there were no black slaves because I guarantee not one of them voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's true. So basically that means there was white slavery, and white people deserve reparations.
Exactly.
I like it. All right.
Reparations for everybody.
Question number 4. Slavery was deemed illegal after the Civil War. In which ways has slavery ended in the United States? If it still exists, explain how, where, and why.
Oh boy.
At number
It
5.
doesn't.
I know where they're going with on that one though.
I mean, I think technically, does it? I mean, they're not slaves, but isn't there a whole thing about prison labor being?
Yep, that's where they're heading with it.
Mhm.
That's what I smell.
Yeah. And number 5. Consider the former question in relation to the Civil Rights Movement and or the Black Lives Matter movement.
What about them?
You know, it's funny because all of these questions, she's saying they're supposed to be open-ended, not have easy answers or anything like that. And they are clearly just loaded questions so that this bitch can go into a diatribe about all of her political beliefs.
You think these questions might be a tiny bit biased? Poppycock. These are very, very fair questions. There is clearly no right answer that you will be ridiculed and kicked out of the class if you provide.
I will sign a contract that I will not answer these questions.
All right, and now we'll move on to the second game, which is Poe or No. And in this
Oh,
one,
God.
I will read the 3 headlines, 2 of which are from Medium and 1 I made up, and you have to guess which one I made up. So, today's headlines are A, you can't give up your privilege, but you can put it to good use. B, actually, reparations do not go far enough. And C, how socialism can save America.
Ugh.
And the chat can also vote on which they think is fake by starting the poll. Okay.
You know, I don't even care which one is fake. I don't even the game has become trivial to me. You are too good at this. I can't tell. It's just a crapshoot, frankly.
I
I'm gonna say B.
yeah, that's what I was. B.
I feel like I've seen B somewhere before.
I know
I'm
it does
gonna
sound
go
like one of
A.
those you
I'm
can
gonna
see
go
in
A.
there. Okay.
My
sorry.
my first thought was B, but yeah, I'll go with A.
All right, so that's A and 2 Bs. So you're just not going to
Hell,
guess, Jack?
I'll just go with C. What the fuck?
All right, about 40 seconds left for the chat poll. No one's voted yet.
For all I know, it's gonna be some bullshit like actually B is the made up headline. You did see something like that, but I altered it slightly or some bullshit, whatever.
No, I don't pull shit
You
like
know,
that.
too cynical, Jack.
No, I make up my headlines completely.
I make my fake news from scratch, damn it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't use
Will Forge
prepackaged
brings
shit.
on, he's voting D.
He has a Saliza generator.
So I
No,
don't know.
the Saliza generator would just tell you that A, B, and C are all correct or not correct.
Or not correct, yes. Why they might be correct or not correct.
All right,
The
and
top
vote-
3 answers for this week's Poe or No by Chris Saliza.
Yeah.
Did only
And-
one person vote?
yeah, and they
Wow.
voted for A. All right, and the answer is A is fake.
Yeah.
Good old
See,
Jonathan
me
Frakes.
in the chat, we know what's going on.
That's right.
Well, see, I said B because it looked like something you would actually see, but not quite. I mean, it makes absolute perfect sense. Excuse me, and it just looked real enough to where there would be something. Obviously, there is there, but at the same time, you're like, it looks real enough to be fake.
Oh, and
I guess that was the
there
way I
was
was thinking of it.
there was one headline that I really wanted to use, but it was too obviously real, so I'll just give it an honorable mention. I am not your chink.
Don't you mean Chin X?
Yeah. I wish I could have used it, but it was too obviously real.
Yeah.
God Almighty.
Well, does Prospero know what the Chinese version of Latinx is?
Well, you just told.
It's Chinks.
Jinx. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
I
nuts.
think that's probably one of the best responses I've ever had to a joke. Was the whole Chin X/Chinks.
That was admittedly particularly brilliant.
Yes, it was.
All right. Well, since we're running a little long, I'm going to go right to our last article.
Okay.
Oh dear.
And that would be saying pause isn't a joke. It's gay bashing.
What?
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 I love it already.
Yeah, I didn't know what it meant
What?
at first, but once you start reading, it gets good.
But I just wanted. What?
It's not harmless banter. It's immature and offensive.
Really?
How?
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Let's not be patient, Mr. Gunsky.
In high school, the talk around the lunchroom table was peppered with some new, now questionable phrases. It was almost impossible to get through a conversation without a chorus of interruptions, ayo and whoa, the usual two, indicating that you'd fucked up. And when that happened, the only appropriate response back was to pause yourself. Quote, I could never be vegetarian, I like meat too much. Pause. Or, yo, can I get another sausage? Pause.
So they're actually saying the word pause.
Yes.
Apparently.
What is
So-
it supposed to indicate here?
So it's
No,
when you
like I
accidentally
Yeah.
say something that sounds gay.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what it apparently means. I've never
I-
heard anyone say this, but
No, me
Yeah.
neither.
any unintentional
But say some.
What?
Okay. They're saying whenever someone says something that sounds gay.
So what they're saying is, if you make sort of like an unintentional double entendre, you immediately say pause afterwards to indicate that, oh shit, I just heard what I said. That's the contextual use of the word pause that they're referring to.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. People just need to get out of the house.
Oh, don't worry, it gets better. Any unintentional double entendre, any sentence that could be viewed as vaguely homoerotic, required us to pause the conversation and reclaim our manhood that was now suspect. It was the rule of the lunch table and reigned supreme. Any deviation from the norm, social misstep, or behavior that could come off as anything less than hyper-masculine could subject you to ridicule for days. While it might be tempting to look back on these antics as products of immature minds and insecurities, I've come to realize that they speak to toxicity and deep-seated homophobia that can plague black and brown men well into adulthood.
I'm just glad that the white people are off the hook for this one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't be too sure.
No, black and brown people are the homophobes. That it's written in black and white.
In music, a pause or rest is a black square marked down to denote silence. It can be given just as much weight as the symphony that precedes it. But if a pause in music is used to reinforce the notes that come before it, the pause in pause culture is one that supports the rigid constructs of gender and masculinity.
Oh God.
We were telling our friends that who they were was undesirable, that their perceived identity was a transgression that needed to be corrected, and that it was offensive that we could be confused for being like them.
Not really. I think it's more that they don't want to be associated with something that they themselves are not. Like they do this bullshit with calling a guy a pussy. Oh, it's bad to be feminine. No, if you're not feminine, then it's bad to be accused of being feminine. It's like if you're a woman, you don't want to be told, you look very mannish today. That's not a compliment.
They go about all this, trans bullshit, and you don't want to be a trans you can't do the slightest thing that might be interpreted the wrong way to avoid it. But what about people who don't want to be interpreted as being gay?
Well, those are homophobic, and their feelings don't matter.
Yeah, you should be gay, you bigot.
Exactly.
The idea of toxic masculinity.
Suck the dick.
Yep.
If you don't want to be a bigot.
Suck the dick, eat the bugs.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Live
essentially
in
what
the
they want you to do.
pod.
Yeah, live in the pod, eat the bugs, suck the dick. Yeah,
Eat the bat.
eat the.
Riley Dennis was very clear when they elucidated this point. If you won't suck a dick just because, it's a dick and you're not attracted to dicks, that is transphobic.
That's right. The idea of toxic masculinity is not new. Coined in the 80s, the term has become a sort of shorthand to condemn sexual aggression or domineering behavior. But at its root...
Or just being male in general.
Yes.
Well, same
A
thing.
synonym for male.
Yes.
But at its root, toxic masculinity is much more insidious. It is not just violence against women or a sense of superiority,
Oh, God.
but any combination of assumptions and cultural frameworks that reinforce the thinking that there is only one way to be a man. For black and brown men, this concept is intrinsically tied to vulnerability and rooted in a history of oppression. Not only do we come from the most vulnerable communities in the country, but we often carry with us our ancestors' legacies of emasculation at the hands of slave owners and colonizers.
Nice.
So, see,
Nice
Terry,
issue.
it is white people's fault. Blacks hate gays, and that's white people's fault.
That's what it all
I'll
boils
tell you,
down
as soon as this stream is over, I will release all the slaves that I have.
to.
But who will milk the spiders?
Well, I'll just have to get new slaves. That's the bit I didn't want to admit on stream. But
Oh,
release the old ones, but to quickly replace them.
yeah.
His slaves are getting too old anyway. He needs the fresh blood.
Yes, exactly.
For boys growing up in this scenario, the perception of strength is paramount. Many of us gravitate to a form of performative masculinity informed by the type often weaponized against our ancestors.
Wait, they're beating each other with whips?
Possibly.
Oh,
I mean, if
geez.
they're...
That is a rough neighborhood. I don't want to live there.
Yeah. In this light, embracing pause culture may have seemed like an act of survival. It was a way to assert our manliness while distancing ourselves from the stigma of vulnerability, a trait so often ascribed to femininity. But in embracing this flawed idea of masculinity, we were cheating ourselves. Pause culture is damaging to the young boys who partake in it. They unknowingly perpetuate a system that constrains them emotionally. It is also detrimental in how it others those who do not conform to a narrowly defined version of manhood.
So manhood is defined as penis. That's the only definition I need.
Yep.
Bigot.
At this point, there's no point in me denying that.
But
No, there isn't. It's
I
true.
thought that manhood wasn't defined as penis. I thought that women can have a penis.
That's right.
But
Like
not
we
for
just
this
established,
argument.
I'm a bigot.
Let's see. The latter part of my high school years played out at a theater arts school, of course it did, where I was one of only a handful of cisgender heterosexual boys in my grade. Unsurprisingly,
Sure you were.
Unsurprisingly, my best friends were all also straight. We were cool with our gay and bisexual classmates and considered them friends. We never felt threatened or uncomfortable. When they'd compliment us, we took it as just that, a compliment. And yet by saying pause every 5 minutes, we were actively engaging in passive homophobia and fully embracing hegemonic masculinity around them. We were telling our friends that they were undesirable, that their perceived identity was transgression that needed to be corrected, and that it was offensive that we could be confused for being like them.
Okay, I'm just going to interject. If they were really friends, this would be like mild. Like you have to be vicious with your friends because otherwise they're not real friends.
Yeah.
Look at how I treat Jack and Moonshock, and to a lesser extent Frosted. Like Frosted doesn't give the same reaction, so it's not as fun with him. But like if you're friends, you're mean to them. That's the privilege that comes with friendship.
Yeah.
If you don't go into explicit detail about how you're gonna have sex with their mom, then they're not a real friend.
Exactly. And if you happen to install a portal so you can sleep with his wife, I mean, look,
That was a win-win.
mm,
A close friend.
and sometimes you just need to make fun of the bran muffins.
Yeah. Bran muffin.
A close friend recently spoke to me about his experience with pause culture in high school. On top of it being an annoyance, it caused him to remain in the closet. He didn't want to deal with being teased about his sexuality. The fear of coming out was augmented by the thought that I could be harassed or assaulted if I did, he told me. It was likely exacerbated by the fact that he went to a much more conservative Staten Island school.
Oh, of course.
Less exacerbate and more exaggerate, I imagine.
After I left high school behind, I became more exposed to different interpretations of manhood. Oh. Slowly I began...
That's a really unfortunate sentence if you think about it for more than half a second.
Yeah. Were you introduced to it by your uncle or...
The local priest.
Slowly,
Foot tapping.
Slowly I began to construct my own mythology. I can believe that. I learned that men from what I'd considered to be warrior cultures, such as the ancient Greeks and Trojans, often engaged in weeping, and that it was seen as a sign of emotional maturity rather than weakness. Years later,
because we all want to go to the ancient Greeks for tips on masculinity.
But more than that, what were they weeping about? Like, if there's a legitimate reason to cry, then cry. But if you're crying because someone said pause in a way that you didn't like, then you should be made fun of.
Terry, they don't care that men cry. Anytime men cry, these are the people who are like, look at the bitch guy crying all over the place. Whenever people say that men should feel okay expressing their feelings, I immediately think of Jordan Peterson when he cries on that interview. And sorry,
men should cry, but not in public. Like, keep that shit to yourself.
No, but I mean, the hypocrisy just absolutely floors me.
No, I get what you're saying. It's just that men do express their emotions quite a lot, actually. It's just that it's different to the way women do it. And these pussy feminists are closer to women than men, the ones that aren't actually women. So they don't actually recognize that, when men express their emotions, it looks different to what we're told by, feminists it's supposed to look like.
There is a time and a place.
Absolutely.
It's usually the philosophy. Granted, this is going to be obviously from an extremely female point of view. Being too stoic can be harmful if you're not expressing your emotions at all. But if collapsing into a little puddle at everything that goes awry, I don't like it in women, but I am predisposed to flinch away from whiny boys.
Of course.
I've always suck it up. And even as a girl, because I was a tomboy, I knew that if you got hurt, you did try to rub dirt in it and walk it off. You didn't show the vulnerability. I don't like crying in public. It embarrasses me.
But I'll use my dad's death as an example. Like, I cried when my dad died because I would be an inhuman monster if I didn't. What I didn't do was cry around the other people who needed my emotional support at the time.
Yeah.
I put my feelings aside so I could help them. And then when it was an appropriate time to feel the grief and loss, I cried. It's just I didn't have an audience and I didn't want one.
One of the saddest things I ever saw was somebody who's very dear to me, a relative at his mom's funeral, standing perfectly stoically, and a single tear, just a single tear escaped, tracking down his face. And I knew how much he was biting it back.
Yeah.
And I think more was said with that tear than any amount of wailing and gnashing of teeth and carrying on. I mean, it 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 is evolutionary biology is very potent in this.
It's also very sexist. You're not allowed to bring up any evolutionary biology when it comes to differences between the sexes because we're supposed to believe that there are none.
Well, which is very bizarre because we're supposed to follow the science and believe in evolution otherwise.
Yes.
But it's not in psychology and not in biological application. So people like Jordan Peterson are horrible people. Jordan Peterson let down and wept. I mean, that will happen. Even the strongest guy who's and they're instead of mocking them, it's like, oh, we wish men would express their emotion. Well, look at that pansy. What a horrible mixed signal to send you guys.
Well, there's a meme that I saw where it was like the badly drawn stick figures, and like one was a woman saying men should cry more. Then the next one was like a picture of a man crying. Because gee, I really don't care. It's like people in general do not have sympathy for men who are that expressive of grief, or like there's a reason you do it in private. It's because it's not considered acceptable behavior because it's unmanly. It just is.
Yeah, and there's no amount of attempting to shame men into displaying their emotions differently.
No.
That's not going to be healthy either. Because then when they do, it will be like you said, I don't care. Why are you doing that? What's the matter with you?
I mean,
I invited you to show me your vulnerability so I could chew you a new one for showing me your vulnerability. What a
also
shitty thing to do to people.
But also to use it as ammo for the next time you get into a fight.
Oh yeah, you weepy little sob sister. You're gonna cry again?
Not just that. Whatever it was that made you cry is what they'll throw at you. It's like if let's say you never got accepted by your father, they'll be like, and this is why your father never loved you.
Yes.
Like,
oh yeah, that kind of perverse. It's not gunny sacking, but it's like it. It's taking a vulnerability that and using it as a weapon, and it's
you cannot convince me that the reason these bitches say men should be more vulnerable around us isn't because they just want to know what weaknesses to poke at next time they're in an argument. Like,
I think sadly too many of them are. That's just God.
Mm-hmm.
Passive. Well, I guess it's a form of passive aggressive. Bait and switch.
I would just call it evil.
It is. It's shitty. I mean, it's just anybody that does something like that is shitty, and it's one of the reasons I don't like women. I mean, I am one. I can't escape that, and I recognize I am. I try not to be a bad one. I mean, I try to learn from what I've seen.
It makes me feel it makes me feel bad because you are an example of like a positive woman role model from my perspective. You are a good person that people should emulate. But then I see all of these people trying to tell me what femininity is supposed to be, and it's just evil. It's horrible. It's sadistic. It's wrong. And
But
we're just supposed to accept this.
I got in trouble, well, like not major trouble, but I annoyed someone because they were blatantly fishing for compliments and I didn't give them one. And like
Oh,
they were mortified with me. It was like I forget exactly how it came up, but she said something like, "Oh, that must make me sound so vain, mustn't it?" And I go, "Kinda." And that was the wrong answer. That was the wrong answer. I can tell you now.
yeah, and it's just why can't people just try to be fucking decent and stop? I mean, they're so fishing for compliments is another thing that's just what a loaded thing.
Hmm.
It's why I
But
never could
I,
done
I,
soft retail.
I
How do
made
I
the
know?
situation even worse because she brought up, a couple of months later, I was so pissed off with you for that. I didn't talk to you for a week. It's like, oh, didn't you? Like I hadn't even noticed that. And then she got pissed off with me all over again.
I'm not going to talk to you for 2 weeks now.
Bring it on. This wasn't anyone I cared about. It was just like a work colleague, and so I wasn't intending to piss her off, but you know,
Well, she
yeah.
opened that door, and you don't ask a loaded question like that, okay?
Hmm.
I mean, and don't give somebody an opening. I mean, that's if you're dealing with a person that has a sense of humor and you give them an opening, like, I guess that makes me sound kind of conceited, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
they walk through the opening. Why did you? I mean, you bought and paid for that one, honey.
Yeah, and she was furious. Like, but I just thought it was funny because
Humorless cunt. It's just,
well, you asked a question, and I agreed with you. What are you mad
yeah.
at me for? You said you were vain. I just said kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
People, they look for shit that they can call people out on, or they
Yeah.
themselves can be a victim of.
Oh, it was like the video that was going around this week of the woman who came stamping back to the boys in the truck.
Oh, that was hilarious.
And there's like, why do you follow me? Stop following me. This is why women are afraid to go out in public. It's because you're following me. And I mean, between laughing, did all of you guys see this, or is only Terry the one to have seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh my God, this is
Me.
a work of art, Frosted. This woman hoists herself upon her own petard without, I mean, she doesn't even need an assist from the two guys. She comes back full Karen, shrieking cunt mode, yelling at these guys for following her. And she's going to call the police because, and the guy's like, lady, you've got this thing hanging out of your car. Why did it? What? And she turns and she looks. She left the filling station with the gas nozzle still in the gas tank. And the hose is dragging behind her.
Yep. It was beautiful.
And so she goes stamping off to the car, and you see her wrested out of the tank. And it was God, and then she has trouble getting it in the car, which is even
Yeah.
funnier. But the first thing, I mean, she goes stamping off, and one of the guys goes, and so much for the thank you. And you hear, thank you. And she shoves it into her car, finally pulls the hose in behind her, and tears off, and she never closed her gas cap.
Oops.
Oh, that's so good.
It was-
That really made my day when I saw that one. That was hilarious.
And one of the first comments on the video posting was, "Oh, ha ha! Isn't it funny to make fun of women who feel vulnerable all the time?" And the first
Yes, it
reply,
is.
yes, it is. And the first reply to that was, yes, she felt so vulnerable that she jumped out of a car and stamped back to confront two males in a truck.
Yep.
Yeah, that's vulnerability. Funky cut. I wish she had called the cops. I mean,
That would have been better. That would have been better.
yeah, it would have been great. Just we're just going to sit here, lady. Don't worry. When they get here, all will be made understood. And honest to God, though, it was so. I'm getting tired of the word Karen.
Mhm.
I think super cunt works there. You know, just assuming the worst in
But
people.
as Frosted pointed out in an article last week, the male equivalent of a Karen should be a Terry.
Yep. Because
Oh.
according to statistics, I believe that most men of the same age as Karens are named Terry.
Yes.
Huh.
And so it apparently it runs in the family because my mother's name is Karen.
Oh.
So
Yeah, I feel
Karen gave birth to a Terry.
yeah, I feel really, really badly for the decent Karens out there.
Don't
Mhm.
feel bad for my mother. She loves it.
Oh,
She
well, yeah.
she revels in it.
No, it's and as long as she's not, is she styling the haircut?
She just looks like. I mean, to me, she just looks like a middle-aged woman. Like
I-
she's dyed her hair because I think it must have been starting to grey, and she was embarrassed about it, so she dyes the hair. It's sort of very blonde. But yeah, I mean, to me, she just looks like a regular middle-aged woman.
It's like your mom, you know. It's just
Yeah.
it's if this is just wonderful. Terry, you'll have to dig that up and send it to Frosted so he can see it because as performance art, it's perfect.
Yeah, if I can find it, I'll send it to Frosted. Jack, Moonshock, have you guys seen this video?
No.
No.
All right, I'll send it to all of you if I find
Well, you
it.
can just put it in chat.
If I find it.
Oh,
I
okay.
have to look for it.
I thought you
maybe-
had it available.
Maybe this might be best reserved for another time.
Well, this article is just about done. I'll just finish it up.
Who gives a shit about the article?
Years later,
We're
years
suffering
later, years later, I understand that men can be just as capable of experimentation without identifying as gay. And the term gay does not define actions. Clothes can't be gay. Yeah, they can. Neither can hobbies or personal preferences. Yeah, they can. Today, my dinner table looks a lot different than those lunchroom benches that served as the pulpit for snap sessions. While I'm lucky enough to count many familiar faces among the new ones, none of us feel the need to pause ourselves. As we sip our glasses of Prosecco, beer, or scotch, we understand that manhood is a far richer legacy than we once thought. It is a legacy we equally share.
Yeah, shut up, faggot.
Hey, the only reason they might be gay is because of what white people did to them.
And because some asshole said pause to them.
Yeah. Which is probably cultural appropriation of the furries.
I would think so.
Yeah. Alright, and now it's time for the last game of the night, which is for the chat only. And that's the caption contest, where I will show a photo of a political figure or event, and people in the chat have to come up with a caption for it, and whichever one we think is funniest, I'll tweet out after the show.
Oh, and little matter, Terry, you don't have to look for it. I found it, stuck it in the meeting chat.
Oh, awesome.
All right, and this is this week's photo, which I just thought is funny because it looks like Kamala is a mom forcing her kid to do his homework.
I will not poop my pants in school. I will not poop my pants in school. I will not poop my pants.
All right, so in chat, come up with a good caption for it. Oh, thanks for reminding me, Willett. I do have to preemptively time out Jack.
Oh, good idea.
Oh no, don't please. This one is great.
Well, then leave the stream and become an audience member.
I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna formulate and say it out loud because fuck you.
All right, so what is it?
Joe Biden says they can't give me a normal desk because they kept catching me masturbating under it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh, come on.
It's not bad. Yeah.
I think.
Oh,
it's,
fuck you.
I
That's
think it's
funny.
But Dante's is good. Is it arts and crafts time already? I like
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Mom, can I have the orange crayon now?
Oh, I know my juice box is here somewhere.
Yeah.
Mine was good. Fuck you.
All right, it was very good, Jack. All right.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Bringing up masturbation an awful lot, Jack, tonight. Should we worry?
Hey, a man's got to do something with his spare time.
Read a book. Have you tried reading a book?
I did. It helps a
pen,
lot.
does this pen erase? I made a mistake.
And by signing this bill, we finally stop Adolf Hitler's advancement through the Polish countryside.
Oh my I like that one.
And I'll give it about 30 more seconds.
Will says, "Does this pen erase? I made a mistake."
Let's see. I think
And
the
by
juice box
signing
one
this-
is my favorite so far.
And by signing this bill, we've reached true international under pressure.
That's a good point.
I think
How is it?
actually all I could think of is his misspeak the other day that YouTube caught the caption.
The
Oh,
one where
yes.
the one where he said the N-word.
Yeah, and I'm picturing it's like, can I have another piece of paper? I just knew this up.
All right. So I think that's it for time. And so which one do the guys think is best?
Before that, I would just like to remark how hilarious it is that a total nonsense word that came about as a result of dementia has been introduced into the lexicon.
Yeah, it's when YouTube hit people for talking about it, and then they had to have it shown to them that they're on closed caption.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was. Apparently, he was repeating, "I am eager to." And
Yeah,
I mean, the vowel sound didn't sound the same, but then again,
to me it sounded like you were saying "and eager," like
And
those were the
eager.
two words.
yeah, and
Well, he has a stutter, remember?
bullshit. I have been listening to him for years, and other than now, I, those kinds of stutters, which are placekeepers, I've never heard him
Well,
misspeak to the extent
when he said that unlike black people, Hispanics have a very diverse culture, that was just one big stutter. That's what that was.
that's what I,
Or
or
he
that
said
all
that-
of China is racist.
Or that black people don't know how to use computers.
Oh yeah, that was a massive.
That was a big stutter.
Did you see
That was
that they showed on?
video. That was amazing.
Yeah, they showed it on the Matt and Blonde show, where one like TikTok video some black guy made in response to it. Where
Mhm.
he's playing
Yes.
he's playing the audio of Biden saying that, like black people have trouble using computers, and he's like jumping around like a monkey, like trying to
What is
Like, at the
this
start
He
of-
bites the computer. He tries to open it. And,
When
yeah,
it flips open, he runs to the corner, frightened,
Yeah.
and
oh my god, it was hilarious.
yeah, that was brilliant.
All right,
that's a brave man, or someone very secure in his employment.
Yeah.
so
I'm still going Dante. I think Dante's is the best.
I'm leaning towards the juice box one. All right, what about the rest of you guys?
I agree. I think Dante's is good. It's
Dante's.
in crafts
I
time
like-
already?
I like Dante's. I'm voting for Dante, but only because he's my friend,
Well,
and not because it made me laugh.
that's a terrible reason to vote for him, but it still counts.
All right,
But hurt that his putt pulling joke didn't make the top 10.
all right.
There aren't even 10 there.
All right, so it looks like Dante is this week's winner. So I will tweet that out after the show.
It would be really funny he wasn't suggesting a caption, and he just was asking, "Is it arts and crafts time now?" Because he hasn't said it's a caption. He didn't put caption in front of it, so maybe it was a legitimate question.
All right. Well, and that's all I had for tonight. So, I'd like to show my co-host and guest. Jack Gunsky has Crippers United on Sundays at 7 p.m.
Let me
EST.
out of here.
Get back in there. Let's see. Moonshock has his Twitch channel where he plays games that are not as good as The Room, and
Or Super Seducer.
yeah,
Also true.
and all of these are linked in the description. Terry Diamantis has this Quippers United, Delahay's Minions Nights, Johnny Hellcat
Hellcat's
streams.
streams. If you want to count it, 6 of Sober streams as well. We're all on those.
Yep. All right, and Prospero, anything you want to shill?
I will shill Minions of the Zoo every evening on the Minions of the Zoo channel, 11:30. You'll find Terry there every other Sunday
Alright.
with the aforementioned Della Haste. And you can always follow me on Twitter if you don't already. I'm pretty sure everybody here does. But I'll stick. That's my Twitter handle in the chat, and that's all I'm doing.
All right.
Because the one monkey in the morning I'd done in months got yeeted into the sun because, yeah, that was pretty funny.
Why? What happened?
He monkey called, was it Chris Saliza?
Yes.
He called him the bad F word as he describes it.
Yes.
Oh. He used a gamer word.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, he did. He
Alright.
called him a stick.
An entire bundle of them, if I recall.
I think he did it singularly. I told him from now on, if the word starts coming out of his mouth, to stick an I on the end of it, and then he can tell YouTube that it is an organ stop. It literally is. It's the Italian name for the bassoon.
There you go.
All right. And let's see. Tune in next week, same time, where our guest should be Polydub.
The
bastard.
great gift of the polydub.
The visitation.
All right. So, give my guest a chance to say goodbye. Jack?
I'm tired. Get out of here.
Moonshock?
Have a good night, everybody.
Terry?
So I think we should just start the stream over just in case anyone missed anything.
That's right. And our special guest, Prospero.
Fuck off.
All right. And with that, we'll all see you next week.
Good night,
Hi,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye-bye.